So yeah, she was a co-teacher with Jesus, and she was, I mean, a lot of evidence to back up that she was his wife. Because it would have been more weird for Jesus not to have been married, especially in that time frame. Because that would have been going against one of the commandments of God, which is, be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
Which brings us, I'm sure, to another topic. I don't know if we have time.
Well, the Catholics pretty much got that down pretty good.
Yeah.
Because we were fruitful and multiplied all over the place.
Well, they did do that, but but part of that was because they needed a lot of cannon fodder for all the wars that they were going to wage. So,
zing! You see that?
But the sad part is that's what they were thinking.
It is what they were thinking.
We've evolved so much.
That's what they're still
How many wars
thinking.
Are we in?
Yeah.
That's what they're still thinking, unfortunately.
I know.
Yeah. But there's a lot of theories out there, also connected, even if you take it back to Jesus and John the Baptist. Because John the Baptist was another avatar.
Yes.
And there's even documentation out there that say a lot of what Christ did was actually John the Baptist.
Well, that could be, especially concerning the New Testament, but there's also a lot of what Christ did that isn't in the New Testament. Yeah. It's in a lot of these other scrolls and other,
There's
other
a crap
sources.
load that's not in there. I mean, come on, his missing years from what, like 13 to 33?
Right.
He did some really cool stuff.
But apparently there was another player that was into the whole zealotry thing. Because let me touch on that.
Did you mention the zealots yet?
No, I didn't mention the zealots yet. Mary was, according to one source, a nun of sorts, a Jewish nun, and this nunnery.
I did not know they had that.
And was under the control of these zealot priests, and they taught them zealotry. And who they were zealous against were the Romans. So, like today, we have Islamic terrorists. Back then, you had Jewish terrorists against the Romans because they were under Roman rule.
Can't we just all get along?
Just a point of order.
Right.
For those of you out there wondering what a nunnery is, convent.
Convent, yeah.
Well, I'm just so shocked that the Jews had. When you think of a nun or a nunnery convent, you think Catholic.
But you have to think of it like this. I don't know what you know about the Islamic faith, but most of what's going on in Iraq, a lot of the violence is one faction of the Islamic faith against another faction of the Islamic faith.
Well, we have that with the Christianity. You have your real right wing that are just way out there, and then you have your normal Christians that are open-minded and kind and loving and
Right, but it was the same thing back then. It was the same thing in Jesus' time. There were all these different factions of Judaism.
Right.
And some of them were zealotry and violent in their actions, and some of them were peaceful.
And now Mary was part of that?
Mary was originally part of the zealot kind of a thing, according to this source. And she was under the control of a priest, and apparently I guess because of how violent they were, they nicknamed these priests demons, and they gave them a number. So one of them was demon number 1, demon number 2, or whatever. Demon number 2. But the one that was over the convent that she was in was Judas Iscariot, and he was named demon number 7. So one of the theories is that when it says that Jesus cast 7 demons out of Mary, it really meant that he came to make her his wife. And when he did that, he took her out of the convent, and she was no longer under the control of demon number 7 or Judas Iscariot. And Jesus was of the more peaceful group, and he talked Mary into joining his way of doing things, which was much more peaceful than the whole zealotrous, angry, violent way of doing things. So that's when she joined the Essenes, apparently. Now, there is another theory that says that another possibility is that she was attacked by 7 men who were like demons or demon-possessed, and Jesus came along and saved her from them, and therefore casting 7 demons off of her instead of out of her.
Well, I want to comment you. I know we don't have a budget for a teleprompter, but I want to comment you on not putting all this on your hand.
Yes, no, nothing on my hand, yes.
You actually have notes. We're not afraid to say that we have notes.
Absolutely.
And one day we will have a teleprompter, but at least we have legitimate notes written on a real notebook, like normal people.
Yeah.
I just had to say that.
No.
But I find all this stuff really fascinating. So
Okay, so Jesus comes along. He takes Mary. They get married, and they're doing their way of doing things with the Essenes, and he gathers followers. Some of them are they grew up that way. Some of them come out of Judaism. Well, the ones that come out of Judaism don't like that Mary got as much power as Jesus.
Right.
Some of them are quite vehement about it, and there's also one of the sources state. One of the sources state that during the night in the Garden of Gethsemane, when Jesus did his famous prayer, and he prayed the sweat that turned to blood and all of that, that Mary came and actually stayed with him the whole night, and they conceived a child on that night. One of the sources says that Jesus gave her a blue rose.
Is that what these kids are calling it these days? Sorry, I was stuck right here.
We're trying to be serious, but it just doesn't always happen.
Never.
I got stuck. It's bad for your system, if you don't sort of release the energy.
Stuck,
if a joke gets stuck, especially if you're a comedian,
Did he give you a blue rose? But anyway, he said that he gave her the blue rose because the rose was her favorite flower, and blue was her favorite color.
Right.
And he said that it was as rare as a woman like she was. So she kept that rose apparently, and after she escaped Israel, she founded a group called I forget, something of the Blue Rose, basically. Let me look this up real quick.
Society of the Blue Rose, maybe?
Order of the Blue Rose.
There you go.
There you go. Order of the Blue Rose.
You got a Martin prompt.
Yeah, absolutely. So they conceived a child, probably that may have been their only child. There's other sources that say they had up to 3 children.
Yes.
So it's hard to say.
That's pretty shocking to even say that they had even one child.
Yes.
To some.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not even to some, to really a lot.
Yeah.
To the majority of the population.
Right.
To find that out.
And all we're asking you to do is to go research this stuff for yourself.
Absolutely.
Don't take our word for it.
No, like I said, I'm going to post the links to everything, the books, the websites, and all of that. So, but there's one of the sources say that after Jesus was crucified and the resurrection and all of that, a lot of the followers that were Jews to begin with turned against Mary because they didn't want to follow a woman.
No.
And they probably threatened her life.
Yeah.
It's assumed that
because there was quite a few ex-zealots in that party.
So is that where that word comes from?
Paul was definitely one of them.
Yeah.
He was very against the whole idea of women having any power whatsoever, and he was a zealot to begin with.
Yeah.
So she fled. She took her followers that were on her side and her family and her children, and she fled to France.
Right.
Now, there are books by Lawrence Gardner which really delve into the whole France Mary Magdalene thing, and he really explains a lot of that in his books.
Because that's where the lineage is supposed to have started.
The lineage states that the children of Mary Magdalene and Jesus eventually became some of the French kings. They're known as the Merovingians.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother lineage thing. Now, I don't know whether that lineage can still be traced down to present day or not. I haven't even looked.
That's a whole
nother thing. Yeah.
That's a lot of research.
Right. But anyway, that's kind of the gist of it as far as what a lot of the modern sources, a lot of the ancient texts, the Essene texts, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Gnostic texts, that's all this information that nobody has been taught in modern day Christianity.
Well, that's what I love about Dolores Cannon's work, is that she said she's not a psychic, because she is a past life regressionist, but she said she is a finder of lost knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's, with Nostradamus and Jesus, I mean, it's just been phenomenal. I mean, she has been the only one that could translate all 1,000 quatrains in 6 months.
But there's also a lot of evidence of Mary's whereabouts in Britain, also. Around where the Chalice Wells and Glastonbury Abbey is.
Absolutely.
Now, when we went there, the Abbey itself has more of an energy. than
even I was feeling.
than the stones at Glastonbury.
Right.
But the abbey itself is phenomenal,
Mhm.
you know, because the churches date back to the 1st and 2nd century there, which is
Right.
really phenomenal. You see the altar, the high altar of St. Patrick, the original altar that he preached from is there.
Wow.
I mean, you can touch it. It's a big marble or granite
I like to go
altar.
back. We didn't get to spend. We only got to spend a day
Yeah,
there.
and the
We'd love to
chalice
go back.
well, in the chalice wells, the theory there is that that's where they washed the cup of Christ.
Mhm.